Hello and welcome. It is 6 o'clock. It is Wednesday, and it is 6 o'clock club. Hello from me, Andy from Twisted Narrative, and a familiar face here.
Hello, everybody. Kristian here, a long-time collaborator with
Yep,
Andy, and mischief maker in many of Andy's games.
absolutely, absolutely. I wouldn't have it any other way. Um, so it's going to be a slightly shorter one because we are going at 7 o'clock into our actual play of Tales from the Smoke, Call of Cthulhu. And I need a little bit of time to finish off the prep for that. I'm talking about the streaming prep rather than the game prep. I've been working very hard on it all day today, to be honest.
if it's just the 40, the half an hour before,
Yeah,
you're really flying by the seat of your pants
yeah.
there.
No, no.
I don't know, just make it up.
It's homebrew. It's written. I mean, it's homebrew because it's set in the smoke. But on top of that, it's I haven't borrowed from anywhere else. There are influences, as I'm sure you will notice if you watch tonight or watch on catch up. But yeah, so I've had to create it nuts and bolts up, and I've kind of done it in a different way rather than doing it and saying, well, players, these kind of characters will be suitable. Do you want to make characters around that? The players made their characters, and I've designed it around the characters. So it's going to be an interesting one. But before we get into that, and we're going to have that conversation about the smoke
Yep.
and do a primer for it, let us talk about last night's game, which was Vampire the Masquerade. So
Hey, I'm in that one.
you are.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, it was a very, very interesting session. Again, I think I said the other day or yesterday, it feels like lots of plot points are all coming together now.
Yeah.
And last night, it was myself, Elsa, Andrew, and Rachel, and our characters were. We went to a funeral, which was happening in an evening. Obviously, not during the daytime. We are vampires after all. Went to an evening funeral. We managed to get it there in time for the wake, and we're talking to the parents of these many children that were all born from this same, or the product of this same fertility clinic, and it was quite an interesting experience finding out about just all these threads and how they're coming together and who knows what and who's pulling the strings. And we know who's pulling the strings, but we didn't know they knew if they knew who was pulling the strings. And now we know that they know. We know that they know, and they might know that we know that they know. So we're in a really better position. We found out a lot of information, and we've got some really good leads that we can follow up on. But we also have an art heist to do, which is gonna be a fun sideline for a little bit for old Uncle Smelly. I keep wanting to call him the wrong name, and I'm not going to say it on stream, but I keep trying to think. I keep mixing it up with the leader of the Wu-Tang Clan, who's got
these grand designs sometimes, and I kind of know that the player characters are most definitely capable of doing it, but it can, if you don't get all of those plot points and sort of work out what the Achilles heel is and etc., it can feel like, well, what can we do about this?
Yeah.
But you all seem to be having fun, and kind of there wasn't any like, oh well, let's just get out of Dodge. It was like,
No. We want to. We know what's at stake because we've been given a really good, compelling reason, like a lot of good parties. We've been given a good, compelling reason to stay together to figure this through, but we're still not entirely certain if we can trust one another because we don't know. This character that brought us out of torpor, we don't know if anyone else has still got to deal with him. We don't know. And I love that sort of intrigue, into character intrigue, as well as kind of the wider intrigue with the plot. It's brilliant. I love it. So no, it was as usual, a great session. Some really great role playing, some really good questioning from Elsa's character to one of the NPCs,
yeah.
and some good distracting from myself and Andrew's characters.
Yeah, you've definitely caused marital problems between those two. Very,
Well,
very. Um, it's interesting to see because, like in my mind, Kindred should be manipulating, and you most as a coterie you were last night. It was a delight to see.
I mean,
Without
that's all
just
Francois does.
yeah, yeah,
All he knows how to. As I've said before, he's neither a lover nor a fighter. He is a talker, and
yeah,
that is all he knows how to do.
yeah. No, it was fantastic to sort of watch and see, and I'm very much intrigued. We haven't established a cast yet, but in 2 weeks' time, Wednesday night, we're doing another Tales from the Smoke, and we'll be using Vampire the Masquerade as the system, putting it into
Mm,
that world setting, and I'm
that'll be
intrigued to see
fascinating.
um, a whether we get any players for it because it new systems. I know Vampire isn't a new system, but if you've never played it before, it could be quite intimidating. But it's
Yeah.
incredibly easy to learn the system, and to be honest, it's mainly just role playing. It's mainly just telling a story rather than having to learn the mechanics of rules and like that. So if you're at all tempted and you like a heavy role play orientated game, then let me know because we are looking for some cast. Um,
Come and join us. But
and
tonight
tonight,
you've got the smoke,
yeah,
and you've got Call of Cthulhu, and you've taken these two things where the smoke is traditionally been more of a fantasy setting
yeah,
with it's been a D&D setting really. You're in
it's never
and you've
been
taken
anything else. Yeah.
Call of Cthulhu, and you've kind of gone, hmm,
Well,
and you hope, well, I mean, we'll see later, but I'm assuming you've made it all gel nicely together. So
yeah.
what have you done? What have you, because we were talking about this briefly before, but before we got on camera, but what have you done to make either the smoke fit Call of Cthulhu or to make Call of Cthulhu fit the smoke?
Yeah. It's a good question, and firstly, I want to clarify that 100%. What I want to do is run the systems that are the systems. So, Call of Cthulhu is more or less unchanged in effect, and there's various different versions of Call of Cthulhu. There's Call of Cthulhu Pulp, there's modern day and whatever, but this is classic Call of Cthulhu. The thing that the players will probably be doing is closer to, I don't think it's been released for the latest edition, but Gaslight, which is Victorian
Okay,
Call of Cthulhu,
right, yeah.
basically. Um, but to my mind, there was no point running a game system and then changing it completely because that wasn't the exercise. The exercise was I wanted to show some of these cool games,
Mm.
um, and I wanted to show them to show potential people that are interested in playing them, whether it's at my table or other tables, that they are easy to learn and fun to play if you like that kind of thing. Um, so I wanted to showcase systems, um, and I've called quite a lot of the time games set in the smoke Tales from the Smoke because I like the idea of an urban environment where there's lots of things going on, some of which are completely not connected. That it's a big city, um, hundreds of thousands of people, and they're all doing their own thing. Sometimes it might cross over, sometimes it might not. Then it occurred to me we could go bigger. We could go much, much bigger. So what I basically did was go, well, look, how about we do Tales from the Smoke, but make it multiversal,
Yeah.
not necessarily crossing them over. Who knows? I'm never going to say never, but that isn't the intentions at the moment. But to go, well, this version of the Smoke operates with the Call of Cthulhu rule set. This version of the Smoke operates with Vampire Masquerade rule set. And coming up, we kind of hinted at it. This version of the Smoke operates with the Feng Shui rule set.
Yeah.
So what I'm hoping for is our audience gets used to the smoke setting. The NPCs will more or less remain the same. There'll be many of the
Hmm.
NPCs that will have the same name, But for instance, in Feng Shui, they might not be a normal human, which they most definitely would be in Call of Cthulhu.
Yes. Yeah.
That they could be, sort of a supernatural ghost or someone from the future,
Yeah.
anarch, or I'm just trying to think what they're called. The
Oh, the people that can turn into animals.
Yeah, the Ascended.
Yeah.
Um,
Descended. That's it.
so you won't 100% know what they are, but what you will know is who they are. For
Yeah.
instance, James Cutter, who's the head of the Cutters Guild, will be James Cutter. But whether he is something different in these things, you'll find out by watching. Some systems require a lot more tweaking of the world setting. If it's 5th edition D&D, you do want to use different ancestries. You do want to have a mixture of different sort of races, whether it's dwarven, elven,
Yeah.
whatever. It spices up. And obviously there is magic as well, so magic exists there. In tonight's game, it's Call of Cthulhu, so of course there's magic, but no one knows about it.
No,
Yeah,
it's not like you've got a wizard that
yeah,
studies Alakazam. It's more rituals and
yeah.
rites and dark things that happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, no. Hopefully that's answered your question.
It does, yeah. And I was just wondering, sort of, what have you? So you've taken out some of the not taken out, but you kind of flattened some of the fantasy elements to make them more of a real worldish setting.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you had to change, or what do you think? Yeah, what have you had to change about the setting to enable the sorts of stories that Call of Cthulhu is lent to? What sort of, because Cthulhu, Call of Cthulhu has its whole mythos.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cthulhu mythos, obviously, that can easily apply to everything. I mean, D&D 5th edition has borrowed, it's got access to that too.
Yeah.
But so what have you had to change anything about the setting to enable these more investigative stories?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, as I said, the whole concept of the smoke. I mean, very much it's based off Shadowrun. I kind of wanted to have this city that operated with corporations, because it was 5th edition, because it was fantasy. Corporation is a little bit of a modern term.
Yeah.
So it was easy enough to change it to mercantile houses.
Yes. Yeah.
And that just feels a little bit writer. I know writer is perhaps not a word, but I've just invented it. Well, as a writer,
no, I think other people have said it first.
Yeah. Oh, well, fair enough.
We don't want the lawyers here. We do not want the lawyers here.
People have said it. Other people have said it for before, and they were as equally as wrong as me. Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Yeah. But I wanted it to have that feel. There are even in effect fixers, or Johnsons as we call them in Shadowrun, which are called John Does or Jane Does.
Yeah.
Obviously that is a term for an unknown person, someone who doesn't. And these does, as they are just generally known as, they act for the mercantile houses to hire adventurers to do deeds, whether it's running the shadows or do heroics or whatever in 5th edition. So you have all of this very complex corporate mercantile house, greed at the top. Then you have the guild system that is kind of a middle layer, and it's as in my opening statement, which will be tonight at 7 o'clock. It's a city of great divide. You have the small elite that are incredibly rich, and then you have a massive poverty right at the bottom. And it's a horrible setting. It's dystopian future kind of horror, and in many ways we are beginning to live it now as well. But it's also a great setting to explore, and I think it always has been, basically. It lends itself to so many archetypes, and the like, really. And because there's no monarchy, because there is no um, sort of warlords or people controlling the setting, basically the police force, which are called the peelers, because there is a peacekeeping force,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
their wages are paid for by these corporations.
Well, yeah. Just
So
like Shadowrun.
yeah. So it sort of all goes down there. But of course, if one of these corporations go, yeah, can you just lose that evidence, please? The
Yeah.
peelers, the high up, the officers will kind of put that down there to the bottom, and
Yeah.
things will
Yeah.
get missing, which then leads to, well, how do you get justice? How can you prove, if you can prove something? If the proof is there, the legal system will eventually support you. So it lends itself to creating a whole load of detective agencies, which again is another great hook for
Yes.
adventurers.
Very Call
You
of
know,
Cthulhu, isn't it? Detective
yeah,
agencies and detectives.
yeah.
Yes.
Just simply that, look, so and so's got this problem. They need to investigate. We need some independent people to go out and do some work for us. And it's kind of it helps write itself, sort of thing. Having reasons for people to go on adventures, whether that is Call of Cthulhu Investigation or a fifth edition Dungeon Delve, is what you need. You need that hook to open the game with.
Yeah. So, GM question for you then,
Hmm.
and more of your GM method. How many hours would you say if you put into this adventure to make it, to prepare smoke
Yeah,
and make sure everything's ready? How many hours would you say you've put into it?
there has been quite possibly, we're talking actual hours, probably
Yeah.
about 16. It's probably 2 very solid days. And some of that is writing stuff, ripping it up, throwing it away, going, no, that doesn't gel. That I'm not happy with that. You kind of want, especially with Call of Cthulhu, you want continuity. You want
Yeah.
things. You don't want someone going, well, why is that happening then? Because that other person said this, and it makes no sense. And of course, you do have answers of mythos and insanity and everything else. Slightly easier with fifth edition because you can literally, and we said this, well, it's magic,
Yeah.
something's yeah, he didn't really say that. He was misled and dominated. You can, it doesn't need to be as tight with high fantasy.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
but
You can get away from the real world aspect a little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. But yeah, I'm anxious because um, I've put quite a lot of hard work into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it doesn't look a lot on paper, but I'm not the kind of writer that writes. I haven't got, you know, 60 odd pages of notes.
No. No.
Um, but what I've done is I've gone through over and over again and re-edited and done these bullet points and everything
Yeah.
else, and it's taken me easily 2 days' work to do.
So as this isn't being run in fantasy grounds, which is where most
Yeah,
of your games are normally run, and I know normally that's where you put your notes.
yeah.
Where are your notes tonight?
They're on what's it called? Uh,
Paper?
Microsoft Office,
Okay.
it's
Word. Yeah. Yeah.
Word
No.
in the cloud, as it were, really. Sometimes I
Oh.
used to use Excel
Yeah.
as a little bit of a mind map, and I still do, but for this I didn't really need to. But what I do is I kind of write, it might be how a lot of writers work, but I write all of my nonsense down, and then I start cutting and pasting and then
Yeah.
deleting and then rewriting and cutting and pasting and deleting.
It's
Um,
not how I do it. I have keywords. I think it's unless I've got a little bit of spiel that I need to say,
yeah,
it's got to be keywords
yeah,
because otherwise I will, and I'll just link things and I mean, I've still got my notes from Blades in the Dark down there,
yeah,
and it's just a mass of bits of paper with random words written on it, and
yeah.
I had that spiel, but yeah. So you mentioned that you were kind of anxious for tonight, and I guess that does bring around to another question: of do you still? Because I get anxious before some games,
Oh yeah,
especially when it's big things, just and sort of
yeah.
do you have any techniques that you could share with us? Things
Yeah,
that you can do to help you before you get into that zone?
yeah. What I do is try and stay anxious all of the time, and that way then it's
The
just a
Bruce Banner
constant.
approach.
Yeah, I'm always anxious. No, that was a joke. What you have to keep telling yourself is everybody around the table is there to have a good time. They wouldn't be there if they didn't want to be, and they're all on your side. Um, you sometimes get sort of miscommunications and stuff, but it will be all okay on the day or the night. And um, literally quite often, I keep reminding myself I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not doing anything where anybody is actually going to be in any real danger. Their characters might be, but certainly
Yeah, yeah,
they aren't. So it isn't life and death. I've had very bad games. I've had some very bad games, and it
yeah,
makes you not want to play again. It makes you literally
yeah,
go, "Oh, yeah,
yeah,
I can't do this." Um, but you learn from them. You have to. Yeah, it's the old adage, I suppose, of getting back on the bike. But
yeah, yeah,
and you get back on and you do it and you have a great one, and and there's so many variances of you've written something and it just hasn't gelled, and it's just not. You make a wrong judgment call and you go, well, no, this is the ruling. I'm going to rule it like this because
yeah.
this is how I believe it, and the
Yep.
player can take umbrage. Um,
Oh yes.
I've had that in the past,
Yeah, me too.
um, and you think you're being reasonable, they think they're being reasonable, but it can feel sort of wrong because once again you're all around the table to have
Yeah,
a good time.
yeah,
So I suppose that's why I get anxious, because there's always that in the back of my mind that something out of my control
yes,
isn't going to
yeah,
happen. I mean, I could just kind of read the scenario to you all now, and I could be really happy because the way
yeah,
I present it and the way that I do it, it's all going to go right, and it's all going to link
yeah.
together, and it's going to flow the way I want it to flow. Um, but of course, that's not why we run games.
No,
I'd be an author if I wanted to do that. I actually
well,
enjoy the chaos. I do
yeah.
enjoy the player interaction, um, and I
Well, I was
enjoy.
gonna.
Sorry,
I
go
mean,
on.
I was gonna. It's a shame I couldn't have been here the day after Blades in the Dark, really, because I was going to run through what could have happened in that session,
Yeah.
not through the other scenarios. I
Hmm.
won't share those because they might happen in the future. But I'd
Excellent.
actually planned something really not planned, but I'd had in my mind that you'd do something really different.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until you wrote in one of your contacts to get in the side door that I was sort of like, right, well, this is taking a really different turn to where I thought it was going to go, because I kind of prepped that maybe you'd speak to the madam and maybe you would actually get to talk to the head of security, and I'd prepped
Yeah.
ideas and voices and environments. I'd had whole ideas of what was in each level of the brothel. And in the end, you never really got off the ground floor in the basement. I was like, all right, well, great, fine. And but again, that I guess it's because it's an online. It was an actual play,
Yeah.
and we all have bedtimes, and
Yeah.
I had, we've all got things to do, mostly in my case, sleep. Um, there's that expediting things, and there's
Yeah.
that keeping your eye on the clock and keeping things moving,
Yeah.
which I think is a skill in its own right, to sort of keep those games moving and realize when not being beholden to, you've got a really good idea,
Yeah.
but you know that it's probably now not for tonight,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that
No.
you have to, do something else. And it happens, it does happen, but yeah, I'm always interested to hear sort of a little bit behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Now some of my players aren't interested to hear that at all.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine. And I'm very lucky because Rachel, my wife, is very happy to hear behind the curtain, and that's how I decompress after a game.
Yeah.
We'll go and talk about it, and I'll spend most of my Sunday mornings after my Saturday D&D game talking about what could have happened, what monsters I used, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. No, it's a great thing to do, and you're perfectly right. If it's about not forcing it, if they and we've covered this in the 6 o'clock club already. If they come up with a great idea and it works and it's pushing the plot in the right direction anyway, Yeah, go with it. And that other cool stuff that you had in mind, you can always save that to another time, sort of bank it, write it, keep it. So yeah, absolutely. Uh, I mean, I'm also very excited for tonight.
Yes.
I think we've got a
Yes.
great cast. Um, the story I think is fairly solid. We're actually launching Tales from the Smoke
Yeah.
properly.
I
It's the
know.
first time that I've done an actual live game of Call of Cthulhu.
Yes. And
I
that
think
comes with its own challenges,
yeah,
I
yeah,
guess, because I mean, I was bricking it before Blades in the Dark
yeah,
because I'd never run an actual play online
yeah.
before,
Uh,
and I'd never run Blades in the Dark before. So
yeah, yeah. There's also just the kind of the tech side of it as well. Make sure that that is going to be working, and
yeah,
all of that kind of side of it. But I'm also super excited because I kind of said hopefully this is the start of like Tales of the Smoke with all of these different settings and all of these
I'm
different
real.
systems.
You do feng shui, as I said.
Yeah,
I'm there. I
I
am
would
there.
say. Yeah. I think we will be looking at that in April as I kind of hinted at last night.
I've already got my
Um,
character.
yeah, yeah. No, it's great, and it'll still have the smoke vibe, so characters will have that gaslight sort of feel to it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but there'll still be the dragons, and there still will be the ascended.
yeah.
There still be
It's
the
taking the core elements
yeah,
and just overlaying it over the top of this city and the way the city works.
yeah,
I'm very interested. I said it's a shame I can't watch live tonight, but I will be watching on catch up.
yeah,
But as I said, you're doing it live. There'll be chat. If anyone's in the chat now is going to join, chat
yeah,
away. And I will definitely read all your comments tomorrow
yeah.
as I'm watching it. So don't
Uh,
be rude because I'm
yeah.
a mod.
Yeah, the other thing is obviously tonight I won't be moderating chat. I'll be focused on other things instead. But please let me call up the picture of it. Let us do
Oh
that.
yes, let's have
This
a look.
tonight. It's kind of changed slightly. We've had Chris jump in as well, so we've got 4 players now. We've got Jocelyn playing Calpurnia Duval. We've got
What a
Dave
name!
playing, yeah, Sergeant Thomas Dobbs. Ian is playing Ambrose Anderson, and Chris is playing Cooper Trent. And all of this
Ooh.
is going out, hopefully, live at 7 o'clock tonight, the tech gods permitting.
It'll be all right. It'll all be fine.
Yeah,
And if not, I mean, it'll be all right.
yeah. Well, no one has died, as I said before.
No,
No,
I mean
it's
that would be impressive.
yes, it is called.
And he's gone high on YouTube,
Yeah,
and suddenly the roof's blown off your house.
yeah, that's right. Well, poor Jocelyn, as I'm sure you're aware, had a flood yesterday, so she's still recovering from that at the moment.
Yes.
Okay, so I think because it's coming up to that time, 1:30, we're going to cut the stream shorter today. I still wanted to do a 6 o'clock club. I genuinely can't wait for tonight, and I'm very, very excited. We won't overly be chatting about it tomorrow because we've got a special guest, Ethan, who's a published writer for 5th edition.
Very
Um,
exciting that.
so I'm going to be looking forward to chatting to him. But I'll probably be chatting about it on Friday if it goes really well. If it doesn't, I'll delete all the videos and
Yeah.
it just never happened ever because I have
Now,
that power.
I'm not going to say break a leg for tonight.
Thank you.
I'm going to say break their minds.
I think they'll be breaking their own, but we will see. That is normally how it happens. Thank
Oh,
you
I
very
hope so.
much. Thank you indeed. And please come and join us tonight, 7 o'clock. I look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much from me. I will catch you later, hopefully. And you're going to this is yeah. I mean, this is your last one of the week.
Of the week, yeah.
Yeah,
So remember, stay in school, kids.
that's right. Take care. Stay safe. I'll catch you in about half an hour.